Hello and welcome to this podcast. My name is Emma and this is a podcast where I talk about my knitting projects. Today I have a few finished objects and a few works in progress. One of them is a sewing project, which is a bit unusual for me, but I have one. And if you don't see some of the projects I've been working on in the past episodes, it's because I haven't been knitting on them or not enough to show you the progress because it wouldn't be interesting. So that's why I don't show all the projects every time if it's not interesting because I haven't worked on them enough. So I'll start with the two first finished objects that I have. One of them was nearly finished in the last episode, and those are the Ruffle socks by Petiteknit, kind of. I'll explain it to you. So I'm just gonna show you one first. This is the first one, the second one. And so I say kind of because I haven't used the pattern from Petiteknit because, well, it's just the ruffle that's kind of special about that. And so I used the pattern that I already had for the ruffle, which is really basic. And I did knit then in stockinette stitch, made a German short row to turn and to go back on the other side so I could do the turn here, which is really the main thing of this pattern. And then I did a heel flap and gusset for the heel, and which is not the same in the pattern. And then it was just stockinette stitch until the end of the sock. What I did here, the main thing that I did here was to do anatomical toes, which you can see here. So you can see that this is the right foot and it's different from the left one. And this is the left sock. So I'm going to show them to you side by side so you can see the difference. Although I think you can already see that there was a side, but yeah. So I wrote everything in my Ravelry project that I will link down below if you're interested about how I did this anatomical toe. But basically I almost didn't do any decrease on the big toe, on the side of the big toe, and only did 3 decreases at the end, I think. And for the other toes, the other side, so the external side of the foot, I did more decreases, but I kind of did it like I measured my toes and my foot along the way, so I knew that I didn't have to do something really straight, but I had to do more, like it was more of a rounded toe at the beginning, then it was a bit more steep, and then again a bit more rounded. So that's the anatomy of my foot, and yours may be a bit different, will be a bit different or a lot different, but it fits perfectly and it's really nice to wear a sock like this. I've tried them on inside my shoes and it's so much more comfortable because I can move my toes in the shoe and in the sock. Otherwise the sock restricts a little bit my movement of my toes, so it's really comfortable. And if you haven't tried it, I really recommend it. It's really more, like, it's really comfortable. And also another thing that I changed in my, because I'm trying to have socks that fit better on my feet. So I started knitting socks on 2.5 millimeter needles, which was kind of like the basic needle size, but I realized that I'm a loose knitter, so I had to go down and a few needle sizes, and so I went down to 2.25 and then to 2 millimeter needles. I realized it was still a little bit too big, So I went directly to 1.5 millimeter needles. And I did that for quite a while until I realized that maybe it was just a tiny bit too tight. So I tried those knitting those ones on 2 millimeter needles, and I think that the perfect size would be 1.75 millimeter needles. So I bought some circular needles, small ones, and I haven't tried them yet, but I will try on my next pair of socks. Because I think that I was knitting my socks, it was a little bit too tight, and so I think it's better this one. If I want my socks to last longer, I still have to knit tightly enough so the stitches are quite tight and not too loose, so it will be more sturdy and last longer. So that's it for those socks. And I wanted to make shorties so I could wear them like also in summer, for example, or when I'm wearing shorts or mini shorts. So the sock is not too high on my leg without any pants, mostly, but I'll be able to wear them also in winter or anytime. But it was also because I didn't have any socks for summer. So that's it for this pair of socks. That was my first finished object. And the second one, you've already seen just a tiny bit of it. And this is a vest, and this is the Jälki vest. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but it's from Camille Romano, and this was a test knit. And last time I showed it to you, I think I was around this part, so it's a bottom-up construction. I did the ribbing and I did a few pattern repeats, and I think I was about here, like halfway through the body, and since last time I finished it. And I'm not wearing it because I have to redo the collar. It's way too big. I can show it to you, but here you can see it. It should sit more on the top like this, and it's a polo collar, so I blocked it down, but as you can see, it's way too big. I think it would look a lot better here. It's supposed to be worn open, so the two fronts are a lot smaller in the width than the back. And I'm going to show it to you. I think I'm going to show you the back so you can see the pattern. It's very easy, and it was so easy to memorize this pattern too. I knit the swatch and then I didn't have to look at it again, and I did put a lot of stitch markers in between all of the repeats so I knew where I was, and then it was really easy. What to say about it? I knit the smallest size, which gave me how much ease. I was within the range of the recommended ease. I fit perfectly in the first size, but I will have written that in my Ravelry project too. That will be linked down below again. Everything that I talk about, I link it down below in the description box, so you can find all the information. What did I want to say about that? Oh yeah, the wool that I used. So I used, the main wool was Manchelopi from Wooldreamers, and I held it with silk mohair, and the the gauge is 18 stitches, I think, and yeah, I could have gone only with the Manchelopi, so held double. In the place of the Manchelopi, do I have one here? No. But the Manchelopi comes already with 2 strands in the cake, and so if we want to knit it with only one strand, we have to unwind it and then redo a bow. And so I held it double, so as it came from the cake. And I thought that the fabric that it made was good. It was really nice. I liked the way it looked, but with my experience knitting with unspun yarn, I thought that it peeled quite a bit, and I wanted it to be a bit more sturdy, and so I held it with silk mohair so it could last longer and peel a bit less, maybe. I hope it will do the job. So that's what I did, and it's a bit more like kind of fluffy with the mohair, so I think we see a little bit less the eyelets from the pattern, but it's okay too. And I think it makes the fabric, the finished fabric, a little bit like the lighter, like the in color. It was a, yeah, I think so, because the silk mohair that I had was a little bit lighter than the Manchelopi. So here it is. I didn't change anything from the pattern. No, I didn't change anything. I'm not looking forward to redo the color because it was not the part that I preferred, because it's double knit, so it takes a really long time. I won't be able to use the yarn anymore because for the color it was only one strand of Manchelopi, and so unraveling unspun yarn, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it and reuse it. So that's it. Also one thing, because it was unspun yarn, I did, like in the pattern it calls for an Italian bind off for the color. For the rest we do whatever we want. I started with an Italian bind off for the button bands without buttons. I don't know if it's called the same. But it broke all the time. It was really annoying, so I stopped and I did the second one. Like I did half of it with Italian bind off, and then I did like normal bind off where you knit 2 stitches and you pass the first one through, like on top of the second one. I did that for the second half of the button band and for the second button band. But for the top here, for the collar, since it's double knit, I had to do it. So I spin the yarn so it was more sturdy and it didn't break, which was a lot easier. And I think that's it for this vest. I can't wait to wear it. So I wanted to show it to you before I redid the collar, and maybe I'll show it to you again once it's finished, or at least show you how it looks like when it's worn. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really nice. I think it's gonna be quite warm with all this yarn in it, but it's quite lightweight, so it's gonna be really nice to wear. And when it's folded, you can see it. This is the side exactly, this is the front, and you can see that there's this difference of width with the back, with half of the back. So this is it for this one. I don't think I have much more to say. I think it was an easy pattern to follow, and yeah, it was the first time I knit a pattern from this designer, and I really liked it, really enjoyed it. That's it. So now about the works in progress. I'm going to start with the knitting ones, so if you're not as interested about sewing, you can skip at the end. So the first one that I had, I wanted to have it finished by now, but I had a problem with it. So those are some socks. I showed them to you last time, and those are socks for my partner. So those are basically vanilla socks, and I just added Latvian braids here, as you can see. So just about the yarn, I'm using sock yarn from Une Louve dans les Bois, and this colorway, the main color is L'Odeur du Bois, and the contrasting color here is that you can't really see, with lots of speckles on it. This is En Amoureux sur la Plage, and if you want to see the two colors, this is the main color, the brown one. And I'm going to show you the heel. So this is a heel flap and gusset. This is the contrasting color that I really like. So basically what I did was I knit a few years ago a jumper for my partner with this yarn, and I wanted to make him similar socks. And I stopped because for two reasons. The first one is I won't have enough of the main color. And so, but just a tiny bit. In the last episode I said that I wouldn't have enough at all, but I knit the second sock almost until the same length of the first one. So this was the first one. I still have this ball left, and this is the second one. And I knit until I had knit half of the ball. So all the rest of the ball is for the second one. And I think I will have only a few rounds left to do before I start the toes. So that's not much. But I'm still unsure about what to do with the color, because I don't want to buy a whole new skein of this yarn that I wouldn't use anymore. Because this is a sock yarn, superwash, merino superwash and nylon, and I don't knit with that anymore, so I wouldn't buy one, a whole new one, not knowing what to do with it anymore. But the main reason I stopped is because well, the sock doesn't fit. It's not really that the sock doesn't fit. This is not really true. It's just that my partner can't pass his foot, well, mainly his heel, through the top part, through the ribbing here. So it's quite stretchy, like this. So I thought it would be enough, but it's not. So what I have to do is really measure the widest part of his feet. So I think the diagonal from his heel to the top of his arch. It's not the arch. It's the, how is it called? Really the top, like at the top of the ankle. So this diagonal here, I have to measure it, because this is the widest point of his foot when he has to pass the sock on his feet. So I have to measure that and see that if it stretches enough to be as wide as his foot, well, this part of his foot. And of course I don't want to unravel the whole two socks and start again. So what I will do is cut here, redo the ribbing, and or maybe I will cut it, but do the ribbing, because I don't like binding off on top of on the cuff of a sock, because I think it looks always a bit weird when I do it. It's not stretchy enough, or if it's stretchy enough, it doesn't look good. It's not elastic, so it's just flopping around. I think when wearing it, it's okay, but I think what I might do is cut here, redo the ribbing on another needle, and then graft around, so I don't have to redo the whole sock. And while doing that, what I did was I cast on the top of I cast on the stitches with 2mm needles, or 2.25 maybe. What did I do? I wrote that down on my reference page, so I will have to look at that. But I will do it, either I will do cast on more stitches and decrease just before I start the leg, or do it on a bigger needle. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. This will be a surprise for next episode if I have done it, because I have to say I put the socks down and didn't really knit on them after I realized that it was too small. And also because I don't know what to do with the rest of the foot, which color to use or anything. And so he couldn't pass his foot there through the ribbing, but he tried them on from the other side, from the foot side, and it fits him. It's the right width. So this is what I will have to do in the next few weeks for him to be able to wear those socks. So that's it for this one. And the second work in progress that I have is also a pair of socks, and it also doesn't fit. I really have to start measuring or fit correctly so I know how to make proper socks that fit. And this is, I've already shown it to you in the last episode. Those are some socks for me, and I'm using Mondim from Retrosaria, and I can't remember the colorways, but everything is written down below. And this is the main color. And I really like how it knits. And I did the same actually. I cast on the stitches for the cuff with bigger needles, then did the cuff with 1.5mm needles, and this is half twisted rib, and try them on before continuing further, and I couldn't pass my foot. So I have to measure everything before I continue with the socks. I still really like knitting some socks and wearing knitted socks. I love that. So I have to really understand our feet, the measure, like correctly measure them, because I know that, for example, I measured mine and the circumference of my foot, like at the widest part of my foot, is bigger than my ankles. And usually, from what I've read, this is usually the same circumference. So we have feet that are as wide as our ankle, like more flat than our ankle, that are more round. But anyway, you understand, it's the same circumference. For me, it's not. I have really wide feet and really tiny ankles. So I know that, for example, I have to do something a bit different. So either I have to knit less stitches, like bigger, and I have big calves too. So it's really big, small, then big again. So maybe I have to do something like this, because I wanted those socks to be quite high. So I should maybe knit more stitches for the cuff, then do some decreases to fit my ankles without being too baggy. And then when I decrease when I do the heel flap and gusset, when I'm decreasing for the foot, I don't decrease as much, and I'm going back to maybe the same number of stitches as for my calves, maybe not. I don't know, I have to measure everything to know exactly what I want, but maybe I will have to do that and not do the same number of stitches throughout the whole sock. But that's interesting, and I really like doing some research about it. So I'm reading, I don't have it with me, I can't remember the name of the book and neither the author, but I'm going to write it on the screen, or maybe put a picture if I can find it. But I bought a book about sock knitting a year ago, or a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I think it was when my son was born. I bought a whole bunch of knitting books, and well, since I had my son, I haven't been able to read them really a lot, but I've started reading them again like a few weeks ago when I thought that I was making so many mistakes with my socks that didn't fit correctly, and I started reading all those information about how to measure your foot correctly, how a foot is constructed, and so how to knit socks properly so the sock fit the foot correctly. So that's it. I think I will have a bit more information next time to talk about it. Maybe not yet. Maybe I won't knit on it or do any research on socks for a few weeks, a few months. I don't know. I'll see. But I'm interested to learn more about it and to have socks that fit. And that's the whole thing, actually. I'm making my clothes because I want them to fit my body, and so yeah. Also making things, I like to knit and I love it, but I also want to make things that fit better than store-bought clothes. So yeah, and that was it for my works in progress in knitting, and I have one in sewing, so I'm going to show it to you. It's a bit hard to show at this stage, but this is a dress. And this is very drapey, so it's a little bit hard to show. But this is the Myosotis dress from Durando, and this is the third one that I'm making. So the first one I made it in double gaze, which I love, but I don't know why it's a little bit too short now. Either I was wearing really short dresses before I had my son and now they seem a little bit too short, or it shrinked. I don't know how, because I washed the fabric before I sewed it, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm wearing it a lot in winter because it's really comfortable, and I have something underneath it. In the spring, summer, not so much. But basically the dresses that I have, I'm wearing them all year round, either with nothing else or with a jumper and yeah, something underneath. Can't remember how it's called. Not leggings, but you know what you're wearing underneath the dresses or the skirts. So anyway, I wanted to make another one, but a bit longer, and I bought this fabric many years ago, and I bought it to sew Myosotis dress, and I still really like the colors. I think that I like the print too, and I think that with all the clothes that I'm making, like the knitted cloth, it's okay because they're quite plain and neutral, so it's okay to have something a little bit more with more motifs and everything on it. So this is the top part. On the back you have some, how is it called? I don't have all the names in sewing because I'm a lot more advanced in knitting than in sewing, and yeah, there are some here. Maybe you can see it a little bit better inside, but what am I showing? You know, like you do the same for the bust. Here, I don't know if you can see it correctly. I'm sorry if you can't. But you know, where you sew two parts in a triangle, so it gets a little bit smaller and it makes a 3D garment. And you do the same. So we have the same here at the front. So we have two at the back, vertical ones, and at the front we also have them, and we have one vertical and one horizontal. Also, I did the collar, the button bands, but I have to do the buttonholes, and I lost one pin in here, but basically they're here. I put some pins in it, so I know where to do the buttonholes, but I have to make them, and then I will have to do the sleeves and the skirt to sew it together. And they are buttons, but I can't really, like, I can open it, it stops here, so I can open it until here, and then there's the skirt. It's quite high up. And yeah, that's it. And what did I want to say? Oh yes, what was interesting for me on this sewing project is that I learned about interfacing. And I had to do it for the other two dresses that I made, the same ones, obviously, but I didn't know anything about it. And so I have to say I didn't really look for any information or anything about it, and I had some interfacing at home, so I did it for the color, for my first one, which made kind of a thick color. It wasn't really nice. It kind of poked out a little bit on the collar here, so I thought for the second one that I wouldn't do it. And for the second one, it's the fabric. I'm gonna put a picture maybe if I can think about it when I'm editing this video. But the second one was a white one that I had with little dots, like thick dots on it. I don't know how it's called. But anyway, and so I thought that the fabric, it was cotton too, and I thought that the fabric was thick enough not needing some interfacing. So I did not put any interfacing on the dress, which I think was a mistake. But so for this one, I thought that I would do it correctly, especially since it's really drapey, and I did want the collar to sit correctly and for it to last longer, and also for the button bands, because I'm gonna open them and close them. Although I'm not really opening them at all, because I can pass the dress on top of my body. I don't have to open it, but still I wanted to be a bit sturdy, so I looked on to find information about which kind of interfacing I had to choose, how to choose the right one, and it was really interesting. And that meant that I had to buy some, that it would take a bit longer to sew this dress, and it did. I had to wait for a week when I was really into it and I wanted to sew it, so I had everything that was ready and I had to wait. But I think it was really worth it, and I really like learning new things. So yeah, that's the main thing that I learned with this sewing project, and I'm really happy about it. And also I'm really happy about the color. I don't know if you can see it, but this was really a hard part to make. This here, because on the first one that I made, it wasn't as neat as this. It went poked out a little bit because I didn't really know how to do it. And this was really hard too, and it took me a long time to do it, but I really took my time. It took me a few hours, but I'm happy. I'm happy about it. So it's so nice. And I think it was really worth the time that it took. So yeah, that's it for this project. I talked a lot about it because I think I learn a lot still with sewing, and I find it so much harder than knitting. Knitting is just kind of math. Sewing, yeah, it's a bit more fiddly, I think. It's not the same. I find it harder, but I love it too. So yeah. And that's it. I don't have anything else to share with you today, so it will be a shorter episode. I feel like I rushed through it, and that it was really it will be a really short episode, but I think I said everything that I had to say. So that's it. And I hope you enjoyed it, and that maybe you enjoyed also a bit of sewing if you're a sewist. So yeah, let me know if you like when I talk about sewing projects and something else about knitting. I really do like it, so I may have more in the future. And I hope that you like this episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye!